Hong Kong film industry in director Jennifer Thym, who's sitting at the end there. And we have Grace Huang, who of course was the you saw earlier in Bloodtraffick, and I'm sure we'll talk about some of her other films, and of course directing Herman Yau of True Women for Sale and Woman Night of Mirror Lake. I'm not going to ask any questions to begin with because we'll just be here all night. So I'm going to open it up straight away. So if anyone's got any questions, if you'd just like to let us know who they are directed for, then we'll open it up. Does anyone have any questions? Yes.
For Jennifer and Grace, from the very start of Bloodtraffick to the very end, how long did the whole production site take from filming, from the very start, the setup to the very end?
This is always a hard question because I think the original concept started around January 2010, and then we started shooting end of February 2010. And we about 10 days of prep and 3 actual shooting days, which for an action film is not very long. And I kind of learned that while we were going through it. And then post took a while because I had another project come up at the same time. So we finished post in April 2011, actually. And then started doing film festivals sort of in August after that. So a little over a year. Yeah.
Okay, do you have any more questions? John, there.
Congratulations on some fantastic filmmaking. It was a real experience to particularly take in such a fantastic place to go here. And it was very much as though we were part of it, which was quite an intimate setting. And one of the things I'd like to ask, in general, particularly related to the last film, is the relationship of the media in the film. There seems to be quite an interesting use of media within the film. Photographers, writers, television, newspapers, they work within the film. I think sometimes they work very often as a way of looking into the film, but also they then start to become part of the film, they start to act in the film. Can you tell us a little bit about why you think that is?
Because the idea of this story began with quite a complicated intention or something that really happened in Hong Kong that really gave me some reaction to it. Since I'm a filmmaker, so every time when I encounter anything, that my first motive is to think whether if I can make this into a movie. And then because I want to, for example, the reporters, because nowadays, you know, the technology is so advanced, and now when we are talking about media, it represents about the internet, newspaper, magazines, and these really influence our life and our perspective towards many things. And also I chose insurance agents. Because in Hong Kong culture, I don't know whether it's also valid in England, those insurance agents can be considered as little Monday. Or their calculation, their value is money. And actually, it's most of the people in the so-called capitalist society, money counts and money matters. And then we have the very low class people, the grassroots people, and living in our society. Then all these people, they gather together, and their interaction and their reaction towards each other. And also nowadays there's a popular word, there's discrimination. Who is discriminating others, and who is being discriminated? The one who is being discriminated is also one discriminating others. So the relationship is very complicated. That's why I don't know how much I can do with this film, but that's my intention, to integrate all the different classes and all the different posts and different position or point of view to it doesn't have any conclusion, but I still hope that I can, through making this movie, leave a hope to the audience or to the world.
Okay, do we have any more questions? Actually, I've got, oh no, there's a question. Go on, yes, go on then. I've got a question then. Oh, go
First
on.
of all, thank you so much for coming here to our festival and for spending some time and talking to us now. I have questions for the two directors. For Herman, I wanted to ask, I noticed in your films, I haven't had the good fortune of having seen a lot of your films, but I noticed that you tend to tie in loose ends and like wrap up the story by introducing meetings between the different characters that happened before, such as we saw in Woman Night. There was it started from kind of the middle and then it moved to the beginning and then to the end, and the characters were kind of, they knew each other. And also in True Women we saw that two of the characters actually had another connection. And I was wondering if that's an influence on your style, or it's like a personal style of your own. And for Jennifer, Western audiences obviously can't help but notice the Lara Croft style of the film, and I was wondering if you had any particular comment on that.
We'll Herman first, yes.
Yes, as a filmmaker, I think throughout my career, I think the most difficult thing is to achieve a style. So every time when I'm trying to start a project or during the process of filming and the post-production, I just, I try to tell myself, tell a story with a simple heart. So I never thought of any style. If, of course, if the audience or someone, they will see my movie and then find my movie with kind of style, I think I should be happy about this. But when we are talking about the narration or the way of the narrative, I don't have any intention to make a style. I just choose a way that is most convenient to me to convey the content, the message, and all the interaction of the characters inside the movie. So it's not any style oriented, it's convenience to me.
Well, I play a lot of video games, so it's probably total gamer. Probably not totally coincidental. I think I was probably thinking a little bit more of Final Fantasy XI, and I really love like manga like Angel Sanctuary and ElfQuest and whatnot. The ElfQuest is quite manga, it's like Western 1970s independent comics like manga. So probably the next film will probably like Skyrim, since I've been playing that lately. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got it. Actually, it's a kind of question for Grace. Actually, is I mean, in terms of obviously for people in the audience who are not familiar with the kind of projects that you're working on. I mean, Grace is working on a project called The Man with the Iron Fists, which is a American film. It's with Russell Crowe.
It's for Lucille Rizza.
The RZA.
The RZA, the
Yeah.
Wu-Tang Clan, for people who like music. And Jamie Chung is a lot of Asian American cast. So we wrapped last year, long post-production process, sorry, let me speak louder. Long post-production process, should be out fall of this year, they're saying, August-ish. So yeah, that should be pretty big.
I mean, is that, I mean, in terms of obviously Bloodtraffic, we've got a small independent film moving to a major studio picture, I would presume. Is that something that you're going to continue doing in terms of building your career? You're going to move from smaller films and work?
You know what, I'm just attracted to projects with roles that inspire me. So big or small roles, big or small productions, I'm all for it, you know. Just anything that's interesting that I can, you know, get my teeth into, expand my you know, my acting skills, show my range, and any interesting characters. You know?
So
Crazy action.
how did you kind of, Jennifer, hook up on this project then?
We actually met in acting class, right, in Hong Kong, which is very rare because Hong Kong, it's hard, you know, it's not like in LA where there's a lot of support for, you know, for others in the industry. There was an LA acting coach that was flown in to Hong Kong, and she's been going there every 6 months from the first time she's been there. So her name's Jean Hartman, she's great. So one of our mutual friends brought her in to Hong Kong, and you know, I was like, wow, this is great, right? We never get acting coaches in Hong Kong. So I signed up, you know, a bunch of people signed up. So we met in class. We were actually in different classes. Yeah, but we met up in a mixer, and yeah, we hit off, and yeah, and just things grew on from there. So.
And what, I mean, obviously, I'm sure, you know, we've got the plan to turn Bloodtraffick into a feature, have we? And so what can we expect? Have we got any thoughts on what direction you would go with that?
Direction we're going. I think it's, I mean, I quite like to have a sort of very realistic, maybe action style. So it's fantasy based, and I expect that still in the end there's going to be a very strong fantasy element. But I quite like the fighting to be a bit sort of raw and a bit quick. And I think Philipping really nailed the style that we were going for. In terms of storyline, I probably have a habit of making things rather complex, so I'm trying to simplify it a little bit for the sake of a feature film. But I do like the characters to be a bit complicated, where things aren't quite black and white, where everything isn't always good and evil, because it's, you know, it's angels versus vampires, which everyone will always assume, well, angels are always like really good and vampires are really horrible, evil people. And I do want them to be kind of like scary, you know, awful things, as opposed to, you know, glittery sunlight vampires. Not that those
What films are you referring to?
There's lots of kind of vampires. I'm all for vampire diversity, etc. Equal opportunity vampires, I don't know. Feminist vampires, whatever. But yeah, complicated stories. Maybe like leaning a little bit towards what is genocide, what isn't genocide. Why is it okay to kill one thing and not another? But yeah, but it should be in the end fun as well. I mean, I think that's kind of the point. It's, you know, with this kind of film, it's a bit of entertainment, and hopefully it's a bit of entertainment that makes you think a little bit, but still entertainment.
I've got a question for Herman. There's something we were talking about a little bit earlier, is in terms of the films that we've obviously screened at the festival, which were Woman Night at Mirror Lake and True Women for Sale, is just the kind of, if you could kind of talk a little bit about the differences between the markets for both of those films. Obviously, True Woman for Night is far more a mainland film, and Woman Night is a much more local Hong Kong audience. But why is that? What are the differences, do you think, between those two films and those two audiences?
Because one special situation for Hong Kong filmmakers that, especially nowadays, after the 1997 and particularly after the 2003, because there's some so-called CIPA. CIPA is a close economic partnership anyway, it's an economic policy about the trading, the finance between the Chinese mainland and Hong Kong. And I'm not going to go into details of this, because under this economic situation, Hong Kong films gain some benefits, actually big benefits in terms of money from the Chinese mainland market. But in order to distribute your film or any films in the Chinese mainland, you have to pass the censorship. So in a way that our films are being censored by means of economic means more than the conventional censorship institution. And that's why for some films like the movie that you just watched, True Women for Sale, actually I started this idea during 2001. But this movie during the script stage cannot pass the Chinese censorship. Then, and then this project delayed until 2008. 2008, and then I successfully put this project into reality. And throughout this process, I have to thank Anthony Wong, because Anthony Wong is the big cast in this movie. He has been starred in many huge productions, and his acting is commonly widely accepted as qualified to be a very good actor. And because he's a very good friend of mine, and he played a role in this movie free of charge. And then I have a very low budget, and then I can make this movie possible. This movie only, the number of shooting days, only 9 days. And then the movie you watched yesterday, more action. And of course the action is very commercial oriented. Or if I'm not, if we are not using the word commercial, then it's a way to aim at more audience. Because historical film usually is not so market oriented, at least according to the conventional marketing wisdom. It's not so commercial. And then, although the Women Night of Mill Lake passed mainland censorship, it took me almost a year to go through the process. And so, I don't know whether I can answer Spencer's question, but it's the situation now that the filmmakers in Hong Kong, or the Chinese mainland filmmakers, or even the Taiwan filmmakers, we are encountering this kind of problem or hardship or difficulties. But to me, I think whenever or wherever where you are living, or whenever or wherever you are making a movie, everyone will encounter difficulties. So I won't see these difficulties as abnormal. I would see them as normal. Then I try my best to tackle all these things. And of course, my will and my hope is to get the films that I want to make done.
I mean, just to throw that open to everybody there, of course, one of the big concerns for a number of people about, you know, local Hong Kong films in general is that the kind of, because of the economic situation with China and the mainland, and a number of filmmakers, even someone like Pang Ho Chung, making films in China now, because that's where the money is but where does that leave local Hong Kong cinema and the local Hong Kong stories, be it, you know, set in fantasy environments like Bloodtraffick, or more realist texts like True Women for Sale? Is there a threat that Hong Kong cinema is going to disappear? I want to throw that up to everyone.
Of course, I hope, and I don't think so. And because the world is changing, and we can't see what tomorrow will be, and the changes is getting very fast. And for example, like a Taiwan movies, the Taiwan film industry has been in decline for almost 20 years. But recently, in the past 3 or 5 years, some Taiwan movies got very a big success in the local market. Because in terms of making movies, one thing is inevitable is that because making movies involve a large amount of money, and for every movie, the audience have to pay in order to watch the movie. So it's already a commodity. Actually, when Lumiere Brothers first screened those short films, people had to pay in order to see the trains coming, or after the factory. So by birth, film is commodity. So the economies really matters. But if the films that we cannot be distributed in other places, but if it can make the investors make balance, or make it a business, then it will survive. And I hope the Hong Kong film industry can one day achieve what the Taiwan filmmakers did achieve recently.
I mean, just for Grace, in terms of, you know, trying to get films made and working based in Hong Kong, you know, what, the kind of climate of Hong Kong at the moment, trying to get films off the ground or trying to obviously work within films. Is there a negativity there at the moment in terms of the opportunities that are in, you know, Hong Kong films, or if that makes sense?
I think right now it's more about making international films, with, you know, films with international appeal. I think that's probably a win-win for everybody. So for me as an actor, I speak 3 languages. So right now I think it's a very good time for me, personally. So yeah, I you know, from that angle, I think it's you know, it's a good time right now, because you know, there's a lot of China co-productions, you know, with the U.S. and also with Hong Kong. So yeah, it's promising for actors, but for filmmakers.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the word international is sort of key there, because Hong Kong itself is about 8 million people. So as a domestic market, it's kind of small. As in, if you make a film that can really only be sold in Hong Kong, it's like there's going to be a maximum production budget, just because you're not gonna make tons more, and you can't make everybody in Hong Kong watch it like 3 times. So you have that. I think that sometimes in terms of sentiment, there's a lot of people that talk about like the golden era of Hong Kong filmmaking, and like the 70s and the 80s being a great time because they were cranking out quite a lot of films. And I think right now they're probably not making as many films. There was a long period of decline, and then it went up just a little bit, but a lot of these were co-productions with China. So there's some question of what technically still is a Hong Kong film. Like, is it just with Hong Kong crew working on it? Or does it have to be shot in Hong Kong, or post-production in Hong Kong, or what element constitutes Hong Kong? But I think there's still definitely like a strong desire to make films in Hong Kong. Most of the crew that I talk to, they still want to film there. So I think in that sense, people will still keep trying. And maybe what will happen to Taiwan will happen to Hong Kong. It'll catch on. You gotta keep trying, no matter what.
Okay, we'll open that up again. Yes, Piers, you have a question there.
That's actually a question for the panel, and thank you all for all your wonderful films. I'm having a great time watching them. So for this evening's films and last night's Woman Night, they're all very different, but a big common element are strong female characters, which is something that as a foreign viewer of Hong Kong films, not something that I readily ascribe to that industry. There's often a lack of that. And so I'd be curious to see you each have a very different perspective on that, but I'd love to know what you think about that.
Well, okay, one, I'm a woman filmmaker, so maybe it's not entirely bizarre that I have that. For me, this is a lot of fantasy fulfillment. Like when I was growing up, I read a lot of books, I read a lot of comics, and I always wanted to be the hero, right? I wanted to be the sword-wielding girl that ran out and killed the monster and saved the prince, princess, whatever in the background. But you gotta kill things, right? That's awesome. And I think ironically enough, also though, Hong Kong is much more egalitarian than I thought it would be. Like I've grown up in the U.S., worked in Europe, worked in Hong Kong, and in Hong Kong I see a lot of women that work, right? Like they have kids, they do the whole thing, but they still go out and work. And when you look at the workplace, it's sometimes a bit more evened out. Like I know that sounds a bit weird, but like when I was working in Austria before, and even London before that, there was a lot less women sometimes in the workplace, right? Especially once they got past a certain age. And I have a child, so it's not that I'm speaking entirely out of thin air, but in Hong Kong I've found that there is kind of an environment where it's almost expected that you go back to work. It's expected to have this kind of strength and to kind of be able to do everything. So maybe that's sort of stuck into the work somehow. But,
Actually, I don't have much opinion on this big question. But I think to me the most important thing is to keep the diversity. Don't let anything kill anything. I think diversity is important. And then when talking about women, maybe it's a coincidence that last night, Women's Night is the main protagonist is a woman, and then this film is also about women. Of course, we cannot generalize that movies about women are feminist films, but I think nowadays we should have more view or more perspective towards things and difficulties and issues with a feminist view. I think it will make a better and more beautiful world.
In terms of kind of a film such as Man with the Iron Fist as well, is it kind of like problematic working on a project like that? Are you conscious of yourself as kind of as an Asian woman being stereotyped in some of these roles? Because I mean, Lucy Liu and some of the films that they do, they end up being marginalised in the film as kind of just these ciphers for Asian women, you know, which are very different to the films that I think we've watched here at the festival so far compared to American.
Well, as for Iron Fist, it's a martial arts movie, so everyone fights in it, male or female, and we shot in Shanghai with an international cast, predominantly Asian cast actually, Asian American. So no, I didn't really feel out of place or anything.
Yeah.
And given that pretty much everybody in the movie got down with the fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that you know, I wasn't too conscious with that about that. But yeah, no, it's good. It's an action movie, so we should all fight.
Yeah. I mean, one topic I suppose I've got to ask, or I'm sure there's a number of people who would kill me if I don't ask you about certain films, Mr. Yau, is obviously the category 3 films. Such as Untold Story and Ebola Syndrome, and those very, very graphic kind of Hong Kongs, and even recently, I know Gong Tao, who wrote and directed that, is these very kind of graphic Hong Kong films. Have you any intention of kind of returning, because you've moved away a little, I know Gong Tao's quite a recent one that you did, but you've moved away from perhaps those films that for a large audience you're very connected with.
If everything goes smooth, I will start the shooting of another category movie in June this year. Yes, probably the shooting will take place in Malaysia, and also, of course, I would say it is a good story, but you can classify it as a kind of gore film, something like that. Of course, that film will not be distributed in mainland China.
No. Do we have just any more questions at all? No, I think it's probably time to wrap up anyway. I'm sure everyone's posteriors are getting a little bit sore now. But yeah, just to close up, I'd like to again thank Director Yau. I'd like to thank Grace and Jennifer for coming to Coventry. And actually, I do have one final question, if this is okay. Have you been to Coventry Market?
No, but I've heard so much about it today that I am going there tomorrow.
Yes. It's the one source of conversation over dinner earlier. Coventry Market, it is world renowned now. It is world renowned, yeah. Giant plants and everything, yeah. It's great. Okay, so we'll wrap it up. And to everybody here tonight, thank you very much for coming along with the support and all of your questions. And of course, we've got more films tomorrow. But yes, and thank you very much to our guests, and a big round of applause, please.